At the New Jersey SBDC Network, our mission is simple: to help businesses grow and succeed. Our consulting, training, and information services make it easier for businesses to reach their potential. Whether you're currently in operation or just starting out, we have the right tools, resources, and expertise to help you succeed. Visit us online to get started on your path to success today.
A pleasant good afternoon to everyone. My name is Takoa Bell. I am one of the event coordinators for the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark. And on behalf of Dr. Tendai Enduro, the Regional Director, I would like to welcome you all to our e-commerce planning part 1, the basics webinar. For those of you here that may be unfamiliar with the SBDC, it stands for Small Business Development Centers. And here at the New Jersey Small Business Development Centers at Rutgers-Newark, we serve as the premier provider of business training and technical assistance services to establish small businesses, startups, and as well as to entrepreneurs. We are one of 12 centers in the NJSBDC network, and we service those within Essex County. Our center is hosted by the Rutgers Business School and funded through a partnership agreement between the Small Business Administration, Rutgers University, and the New Jersey Business Action Center. Our mission here is to help entrepreneurs as well as business owners start and grow sustainable, successful businesses through the delivery of one-on-one business consulting, training, and technical assistance programs. Now, these services are provided to you at no cost and are paid for by your tax dollars. If you or your business is located in Essex County, our website is www.rnsbdc.com. And on the top right-hand corner of our site, we have a red button labeled Request Counseling. So clicking on that button will lead you to fill out some information about your business, including the help you are seeking. And within 24 to 48 business hours, one of our consultants will reach out to you for an assessment. And for those of you here that are not in Essex County, our headquarters website is njsbdc.com. And on that website, you can type in your county and it will refer you to your local SBDC office. For the benefit of everyone attending today's webinar, we will be taking questions via the chat and the Q&A feature here on Zoom. So please feel free to ask or post your questions, and we will do our best to respond during or at the end of the webinar. A copy of the presentation slides along with a video recording of this webinar will be emailed to you within 48 to 72 business hours so that you can refer to all this information long after the webinar has ended. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter for today's webinar, Ahmet Akdag. Ahmet is the CEO and owner of Styremont and is an SBDC consultant here at the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark in the areas of e-commerce, self-hosted and marketplaces, BC and B2B online strategic planning, and supply chain sourcing. And now, without further ado, I will turn today's webinar over to Ahmet.
Thank you, Takoa. Good afternoon, everybody. So today's webinar is going to be about the basics of e-commerce and the e-commerce ecosystem. So let me pull up the presentation. So this is not just for individuals who are have no experience in e-commerce. This is also for people who might have a traditional existing business who are looking to pivot into e-commerce, or you might be an existing e-commerce business that is looking to find out, if they missed anything, if there's some opportunities they might have. Something to keep in mind is the e-commerce ecosystem is constantly evolving. It's constantly changing. There's always some new marketplaces that come in. There's always retailers who have invested in their capabilities and now are able to offer e-commerce. And there are various services out there that continue to get introduced for e-commerce businesses and e-commerce in general. So it's always a good idea to, if you don't know the information, this is a great primer. If you have some information, this is a great review. And at the end of the day, the main thing is helping you build your strategy as you decide whether you're going to approach e-commerce, whether you're going to pivot into e-commerce, or whether you're trying to scale up your e-commerce. These are the basics that make up that e-commerce ecosystem. So first thing we're going to jump into is the foundation, and that is, what is e-commerce? E-commerce is essentially something called electronic commerce, goods and services that are offered through the internet for business to business or business to consumer, or distributor to consumer if you are a manufacturer. These are, it applies to all of these business practices. Anything you sell online is essentially e-commerce, whether, like I said, your goods or services, anything that's offered and available to whoever your customer base is. If it's something that they can obtain online, they can pay for online, that puts it into the realm of e-commerce, because you are putting your services or your products in front of them through the internet, through online means. Maybe your catalog is online, that would essentially enter the realm of e-commerce, because you are putting it in front of them. If they were able to, especially if they're able to purchase the products from your website or from whatever websites or marketplaces or retailers that you sell online with. So some examples are the most obvious ones: Amazon, Home Depot, Walmart, eBay, Overstock, Wayfair. There's a lot more out there. Some are niche, some are just general marketplaces. Obviously, sites like Amazon and eBay are general marketplaces, multiple categories. Sites like Home Depot, Overstock, and Wayfair, a bit more specific in the categories that they service. And then you might have others that are very, very specific, very type product. Maybe they're even just specific to a type of e-commerce. Maybe they don't do B2C, maybe they're exclusively B2B, or vice versa. And we'll be going over some examples of that in the rest of the slide. Now, some common requirements for e-commerce are essentially high quality product content. That's images, titles, and descriptions. The reason for this is very straightforward. Because everything is offered online, there is no real samples, especially for products. For services, you might have to have a portfolio or examples of work you've done, depending on the type of service you're offering. Obviously, this might not apply to every type of service, but even then, having a good description of what you're offering, what it is, what the address is, and why they should consider it, those are vital. If it's a product, this includes images. Images are vital because they can't feel the products. They're not shopping for it in the store. So they need to be able to visualize, conceptualize that product that they're seeing. And generally, customers, when they see a product that has high quality pictures, high quality information, they are more likely to consider adding to carts than if you had simpler information and simpler images, maybe low quality images. Because there's always that concern that, is this a fraudulent, is this a scam? Am I not going to get what I expected? That general distrust. So having a very high quality content is vital. Having it beforehand is also very helpful, because it will streamline the process of onboarding when you start selling online. GS1 UPC barcodes, obviously this is very product specific. And the reason for this is that marketplaces now make this a mandatory requirement. Amazon, for example, wants you to provide the UPC barcode for whatever product you're selling. There are certain categories that are exempt, especially if they're custom made or certain types of products that you wouldn't be putting any kind of UPCs on. But those are rare in between. It's generally, the exemptions are very specific. Everything else needs a UPC barcode. Now, if it's a product you're bringing in under your own brand, you have a manufacturer making it for you, it's kind of like a white label situation where you're buying the product from an overseas supplier or a domestic manufacturer, and you're putting your branding, your logos on it. You will need a GS1 US registration to get the UPC barcodes. You will pay for the barcodes, and then you pay an annual maintenance fee to GS1. If you are selling a product and it's from a distributor with their own branding, you're not putting your own branding on, you're not putting your own logo on it. The distributor or the manufacturer should have their own UPCs on there. And in those cases, you will be able to use their UPCs, because for sites like Amazon, they just want to make sure that whatever this product is, it has a UPC barcode on it that lets people know whose product this is. So if you are not selling products under your name, your company, your brand, if you are just reselling something from a distributor or a manufacturer, get them to provide you the barcodes, because they definitely should have it. If they don't, that's a bit of a concern, because manufacturers and distributors should definitely have barcoding of some kind for their products. Now, European ones might have something called an EAN. It's similar to a UPC, and sites like Amazon do allow you to choose EAN instead of UPC. But I generally recommend that if you can, get a UPC if you are going to be selling in the US, because some marketplaces don't easily recognize EANs, and it might be a bit of a headache to get that process going. If you have a UPC, it's straightforward. It's a standard. Everyone is familiar with it. Less headaches with that. A USPTO trademark. This depends on if you are looking to, make a brand out. But sites like Amazon have something called brand registry, where they help protect your brand, and they also provide some additional marketing features. And to get those features and get that protection for your brand, you need to be brand registered, and brand registry requires a registration number showing that you have an active trademark. So if you are planning to sell something under your own brand, you will more than likely need a trademark. Not as a core requirement, some marketplaces don't really ask, but as a matter of, if you want to scale up in the future and you want to get on Amazon, you want access to those features, you should consider trademark. Alternatively, a trademark also provides protection for your brand, because there are counterfeiters out there. There are a lot of counterfeiters out there. Having that legal protection is always a positive. So that is something you can look into. Trademarks, you can apply for them yourself, but nowadays I generally recommend contacting a attorney who handles trademarks, trademark filing, because dealing with the trademark office is a bit tricky. And if you get something wrong, there'll be a whole appeal process you'll have to deal with. So if you get a lawyer ahead of time who handles trademarks, and there's a lot of them out there, so you can easily search one up. I would recommend using a lawyer, just to avoid the potential headaches you might run into if you file yourself. Now we're entering the other business operational ends that are common requirements for a e-commerce business. Consistent inventory is a plus. Consistent inventory is necessary, because the way the algorithms work on e-commerce websites, on their catalogs, especially marketplaces, is if a listing goes out of stock, it will start to lose its ranking and start sliding down into back pages, basically. So if you search something on Amazon, for example, you'll see that there's multiple pages of search results. Most people don't go that far. Maybe they'll go 2 or 3 pages maximum. Few people really go farther than that. But the way that your listing shows up in those pages is determined by algorithms that these marketplaces create, that look at sales, that look at review, that look at feedback, that look at your metrics, your performance metrics. Are you shipping on time? Are you shipping with no errors? And they also look at having the item in stock. If an item starts being out of stock, it will start sliding down those pages. And because of the way the algorithms are weighted, it's harder to climb back up if you start losing, whereas it's easier to climb up if you start from scratch and you don't have any problems. So that's something to keep in mind. Having a marketing and advertising budget is not a mandatory requirement, but it's something that you should definitely have on hand, whether it's $50 a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month. Maybe you even go by day. Maybe you don't do it by month. $5 a day, $2 a day. Some websites, some marketplaces and retailers will have a limit, a minimum. So you can't really set something too low. But if you're going to set the minimum, maybe you can just go off of that. And the reason for that is that in e-commerce now, especially, marketing is key. In the past, organic sales were heavily weighted, so it was mostly just people searching, buying, and leaving reviews. But the current system, especially Amazon, you've probably noticed on Amazon too, if you've recently been shopping for something on Amazon, you'll notice that when you search a product, there's a lot of sponsored ads. There's a lot of sponsored advertised products showing up in your search results. And that's because in the past, Amazon used to be the full page, except maybe the top and the side was advertised products, but they started moving heavily more into advertising. So now more advertised products show up on the pages. And that's simply because there's so many people selling products. There's so many products. The competition, it's the only way to get around is with marketing. Now, that doesn't always mean that you have to have the highest budget in marketing. You can see progress in marketing with smaller budgets, as long as you build that marketing campaign out well, as long as you use the right keywords, as long as you make it very focused, you can actually start seeing results with marketing. So it's not always a case of, oh, the guy with the most money is gonna crowd everybody out and get rid of their abilities. There are ways that you can, with the right keywords, you will actually show up. There is room for that. And it is usually in the marketplace's best interest for that to have people having that competition. So it's not a marketing monopoly where the guy with the most money spending the most advertising is dominating everything. And then finally, a company website is very useful, especially if you're building a brand. You don't have to sell from your website. It doesn't have to be an e-commerce enabled website, which means that you don't need a checkout, you don't need a cart, you don't need payment processing. You can have something as simple as a company website for your company, for your brand, introducing your company, introducing the brand, providing some content, providing some pictures, things like that. The reason for that is that some marketplaces, some retailers, when you apply to them, to sell with them, you have to apply, and some of the applications will ask for a website, and they will check out your website to determine if they want to invite you on board or not. So having a website is important to have some visibility, to show your business, to show your product, to showcase your services or your products in a more since you have full control of your website, you can put in as much quality content as you want. You can put as much as descriptions as you want. You can make it interactive if you want. Depends on how you want to set it up, but you have full control over how you want to present yourself, your product, your company. So I generally recommend having a company website at least. Now, there are 3 types of e-commerce platforms, which are ways of selling. First is self-hosted. You sell through your own website. You're responsible for setting up the website, listing the products, advertising online on the internet to attract customer traffic. You get the most control over your brand and your business. Downside is traffic. When you are building a company website and you make it self-hosted, so you do include a cart, a checkout, payment processing, so people are actually able to purchase products. You need to bring in traffic, and you don't really have any traffic. And there's few options to get that traffic, but they all require money. You have to invest in advertising. You have to invest in marketing. You need to invest in building links and getting the name out and having that familiarity so people actually start searching. So that's the biggest difficulty and the biggest expense, is actually getting the customers to your website so they can actually shop your products and sell. Second is a marketplace, which is a B2C activity. What happens in the marketplace is you sell on a website that is like a marketplace. They have their own traffic, they have their own customers who are coming in, they're making that investment. You're just setting up to sell your product on their website. Amazon being the biggest example. You list your product, you sell them to customers, the marketplace charges a fee, the marketplace probably provides other utilities, the marketplace provides marketing, the marketplace also has a shipping service included if you decide to use theirs for convenience instead of using your own shipping. So because the marketplace will usually get a better rate than what you might be getting unless you've already had a lot of volume going. So those are things that they offer. I haven't really heard of a marketplace that pays for your shipping. There are some out there, and they might offer that, but generally speaking, in a marketplace platform, you're paying for the shipping. You have some control over your brand based on whatever kind of tools they give you, whatever guidelines they give you. You don't have full custom control. You're limited to whatever they give you to use to promote your brand, which means that you will be like everybody else using the same tools within the same restriction. And a marketplace seller will generally be considered something called a third-party seller, because you are selling, you in the marketplace, you're not the marketplace, you're just a third party using the marketplace. And the reason for this is that some marketplaces actually have a supplier vendor relationship, which is where a seller is actually selling to the marketplace, and the marketplace is listing it on their catalog as ship and sold by. So if you're ever on Amazon and you see a product that's just shipped and sold by Amazon.com, that means that that product is being sold to Amazon by a supplier. And generally speaking, in Amazon's case, what happens is that when someone orders that product, Amazon receives the order, and then Amazon sends that order to the supplier and says, our customer ordered this product, please ship it to them. And as a supplier in that B2B relationship, you are providing your products at cost, and the marketplace or the retailer is setting them at their retail price, whatever they want. They'll do their own calculations off of your cost. And two is that they will generally pay for shipping to customers. Most B2B relationships with marketplaces or online retailers start off as a drop ship situation. So you keep the inventory in your own facility, and as the orders come in, the marketplace or retailer will give you the shipping address and also the instructions on preparing the labels for shipping labels, and you will just send that out and notify them that the order has been submitted. Now there are some situations where if you scale up with them, you have a reliable relationship with them, they will start bringing in bulk inventory to their facilities. So you will be actually shipping truckload or less than truckload to their warehouses, to the marketplace or retailers' warehouses, and then they will handle shipping it to customers. So in this case, you're not even going to be shipping to customers. You're just going to be shipping it to the marketplace, and then the retailer, and then they're going to ship it themselves, and you get paid the bulk price because you're sending bulk inventory. And retailers often handle the shipping, and they often handle the customer service. It can include something called co-op fees, maybe marketing fees. There's different names for the terms they use, but it's included in the terms and agreements, where essentially they take a percentage off the balance they owe you on the invoicing, as covering costs for damage allowance, covering costs for the marketing they do, covering costs of freight sometimes. It depends on what you negotiate with them and the individual marketplace or retailer. Depends on what they're doing, how they have it set up. So they don't have the same fees that marketplaces do. They're different fees because you are in a relationship with the marketplace or retailer company directly. You're not using their platform to sell your products to customers. So common fee models are charging fees based on item listing fees. These will be a percentage of whatever the sell price is. So whatever you're selling it for, it'll be a percentage of that. So when you receive payment, it'll take that deduction. Alternatively, some have a listing fee where you pay a fixed amount to list the product on that marketplace. There's a lot of mix and match going on. So these fees could all exist on a single marketplace depending on how they have it set up. So for example, I do the breakdown here. Listing fees, sometimes called referral fee. It's a fixed, it's a percentage that, and this percentage can be determined by category. Some categories might have it higher, some might have it lower. I know Amazon, for example, sometimes will, if they want to bring more inventory, if they have more sellers to a certain category for Seller Central, they might offer a promotion where the referral fee is lower than the standard for 1 year, just to promote people to start selling. Item fees are per item sold rather than marketplace, and they're usually a fixed amount. And account fees are separate. Account fees are something that you would be paying on a monthly basis, for example. So like Amazon professional seller is $39.99 a month. That is an account fee. Not every marketplace has that. Walmart marketplace, they don't charge an account fee. They just have the other fees they charge. And then if you start doing stuff like Amazon fulfillment or Walmart fulfillment, those have their own fee structure based on category, size, products. how the product's packaged, a lot of those nuances in there. But there's all kinds of fees. You will generally have access to this information on that marketplace. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. Find out what kind of expenses you will be facing before you actively start selling. You don't want a situation where you start selling and then you notice that the income you're making, the revenue that's coming in, is not a profit. You might be making a loss because of the deduction. So that's something to keep in mind. So we're going to jump into Amazon as marketplace. Amazon is the largest online e-commerce site with significant customer traffic. They're essentially the gatekeepers of e-commerce. I think I read that about 40%, a little above 40% of online shoppers will start at or enter Amazon at some point in their shopping journey. So Amazon is big, a lot of traffic. They do B2B as well as B2C. And what I mean B2B, B2C here is not the platform types, but the customer bases you're selling to. So B2B on Amazon is you're still a third-party seller, but the shopper is a business and not a individual, which means that a business will probably buy in bulk, which means that the features are set up to handle bulk ordering. Unfortunately, it's still being invested in, still being developed out. It has limited capabilities. It does function for the basic purposes of B2B, but Amazon is not a B2B website. It is B2C. And B2B is just something that they've been developing out. So they have business customers. They're giving them some advantages as well to use Amazon. Setting up on Amazon is very straightforward. To become a seller, you can create an individual professional account. If you try to open a business account, you will be restricted to professional. They won't allow you to open individual because individual is free in the sense that you don't pay a monthly fee. You only pay the fees for selling the products. Fees are determined by the account type, and the referral fee is determined by category. Additional fees are incurred by fulfillment by Amazon, which let you ship bulk items to Amazon fulfillment centers. These are usually going to be pick and pack if it's a large size. They're going to be storage fees if you hold it there over 90 days. And the most common one is shipping. You do have to pay the shipping to send the bulk units to an Amazon warehouse. You could either use Amazon system to arrange the shipping, or you can get your own shipping if you think you'll get a better rate using your own. And the benefit of something like FBA is that Amazon handles the shipping to the customers when the order comes in. They'll handle customer service, and they'll usually handle the returns. And anything sent to an FBA location, Amazon Fulfillment Center location, will be marked as Prime delivery to Prime subscribers. Now, there are certain programs where it's like seller fulfilled Prime. That's very limited. That depends on your performance metrics over a decent amount of time. So it's not something you will immediately have access to on Amazon, but FBA is something you will have immediate access to. Just keep in mind that there are costs that you can incur with it, and you want to make sure that the inventory you send will ideally finish by whatever time frame, because you want to have it set up that way. But I will also note that Walmart has a fulfillment service, but keep in mind that they're distinct companies. So with Amazon, everything is there. If you set up a seller account on Amazon, you will see the shipping page, and they've actually updated it. So if you've looked in recently, that's their updated version. Amazon kind of encourages you to do FBA, but you want to send inventory there that is not going to incur storage fees. You want to avoid that. Long-term storage fees start in 90 days. You want to avoid that situation. With Walmart, and we are going to be touching on Walmart next slide, it's different. So don't, if you have familiarity with Amazon fulfillment, and when I start talking about Walmart, note that Walmart's going to be structured differently. The logic is the same, but the structure is different. These programs are all exclusive to whatever marketplace you're working with. They will have their own setups. They will have their own rules. There is no standardization for this kind of service at the moment. Each retailer marketplace will have their own rules, own costs, own expenses. So that's something to keep in mind, but it is beneficial if you make sure you use a conservative amount of inventory. This is just an example of Amazon's front page. This is a bit older screenshot, but as you can see, Amazon is very straightforward and for the customers. It receives significant traffic. A report in May 2020 said 2.5 billion visitors. So Amazon receives a lot of traffic, and they sell a lot of different categories, but they might not be the best for your category. They might sell your category, but they might not be the best for your category. But because of the number of traffic they receive, I usually do recommend that whatever you're selling, if you can list it on Amazon, list it on Amazon. You will be able to put your product in front of their customers, and that is just a lot of traffic that you can attract. Even if you're not going to get the best sales on Amazon, maybe another marketplace will get you better sales. Amazon will have that traffic advantage. So always consider that. If it's a category you can sell in, definitely consider listing your products on Amazon. I'm going to go through some of Amazon's platforms. These aren't the platforms specifically we talked about, but they do tie into it. So I'm going to start with Seller Central. This is the main one. This is the marketplace one. I put in the links to some tools and guides that you can use. They're very helpful for your planning. The beginner's guide will have instructions, and the seller cost calculator will let you determine what kind of profit margin you can expect with your category of product at the price you're selling it at. It'll let you put in the category, it'll let you put in the cost that you want to sell it for, the price you want to sell it for, and then it'll give you an idea of what the deductions will be. So that's very useful. But the next one is actually even more useful. Technically, it's for FBA. And as I mentioned, Amazon FBA is the ability to send bulk units to an Amazon warehouse to get that Prime delivery label. But what's really useful here is their FBA revenue calculator. It's a great tool for estimating FBA costs and approximating your profitability for the product. And the key here is you can use similar items already on Amazon to get an estimate for how much it's going to cost you. So let's say you're doing your product research, you don't actually have the product, so you can't put in product information, but you see on Amazon that somebody is selling a product that's pretty much what you're planning to bring in. The dimensions seem to match, the weight seems to match, the category is exactly the category you're going in. It's probably a competitor, but they have it listed there. You can use this FBA revenue calculator. You get their ASIN number. If you scroll down any Amazon listing to the product details section, you will see a part that says ASIN, and it usually starts with a B, but not always. But it'll be an alphanumeric code there. You can take that, go to the revenue calculator, and when you put it into search, it will pull up that specific item and then give you an estimate for how much the shipping will cost, how much storage will cost, how much money you will make at the end after all the deductions. Now, keep in mind, because Amazon wants to keep the actual sales data secret, because this is the trade information for the competition, it's not giving you actual amounts, it's giving you estimates, and the similar items you're putting in is just a matter of convenience. So when you're pasting that, what it's pulling is it's pulling the category, it's pulling the dimensions, and just making it easier for you to get your information ahead of time. It's not going to give you your competition's actual expenses and actual earnings, because that would obviously run into issues, because that's kind of a that's private information for that competitor. So it won't give you that. So note that the information you see there are estimates, but I've generally found that those estimates are pretty accurate in regards to when you want to sell yourself. Sometimes they will come in a bit high, but they're relatively accurate. There hasn't been anything ridiculous. It's only if the data is messed up. So if maybe that you picked an item and it's missing some of the data shipping information, it's missing the shipping dimensions. The calculator will give you either something off the charts, or it won't be able to give you anything. So that's something to keep in mind too. It's not an exact tool, it's an estimate. We're touching on Amazon fees here again, so I can just give you a brief breakdown as well as show you what it looks like on Amazon. Amazon again has 2 seller account tiers. A monthly subscription fee. Professional selling is $39.99. Individual selling plan is no subscription. Last I checked, these are still what it's set at. Per item fees, Professional sellers don't have a per item fee. Individual sellers do. And the reason for that is that individual sellers are, you can kind of guess, are, they're doing it on the side. Maybe they're just selling a couple of products that they found, they're getting from somewhere. It's not a full business. It's just sporadic. In that case, it makes sense for them to use the individual seller. And some categories can have extra fees, so it's something worth checking into, as well as Amazon has its own refund policies for certain categories that can that where they can take action before you take action, and they will kind of put a refund through, but it depends on the category of the product that you're selling. So definitely check out the links and see the categories, see the breakdowns, see their policy and terms before you start selling on Amazon, for example. Amazon Vendor Central is invite only. Only reason I'm bringing this up is because in the future they might open this up for application, but right now it's invite only, and the only way to get on there is either having high revenue or consistently high growth on Amazon Seller Central, and you have to maintain this for I've generally seen the average to be about 2 or 3 years. And then what happens is if you're showing high revenue or if you're showing high consistent growth, Amazon system will flag your account, and then the Vendor Central buyers will be able to look into your account and decide that if the products you're selling and the volume you're selling at is worth inviting over to their Vendor Central program. The Vendor Central program is their B2B relationship with Amazon. It allows for various development opportunities beyond just selling to customers. This one where you sell to customers is through their Seller Central, and then this one's a Vendor Central, a separate platform. This one has something called in-network fulfillment, which is where you send bulk POs to Amazon. Amazon will essentially send you an order saying, we want to order 2,000 of this item, 1,000 of this item, 500 of this item. Please send them to this warehouse. They'll give you that information and the shipping information, and then you make the arrangements. They pay the shipping, so they'll arrange the carrier as long as you schedule it on their system, and then you will get paid based on whatever terms. It used to be 30 days, but Amazon has pushed that up considerably. I hear nowadays it's 60 or 90, and the 60 days one has a 1% early pay discount. I don't think they've increased it, but because of the pandemic, they did bump it up from 30. Direct fulfillment is drop shipping. It's the one I mentioned, that if a customer orders from an Amazon item, Amazon sends you the order and says ship this to our customer. Very straightforward. Direct import is only for if you're working with a manufacturer that's overseas. Direct import is them ordering container basis. So it's like the in-network fulfillment, but instead of ordering truckload or less than truckload quantities, they order container quantities because you are working with a manufacturer who makes this overseas, or you yourself are a manufacturer overseas, not in the US market. And then private label is another opportunity. You've probably seen various Amazon private labels, the most common being Amazon Basics. There's also Pinzon, that's another one, and then Amazon Essentials. They have a lot, but private label is generally through Vendor Central, the Vendor Central platform. So they usually look at whoever they have supplying their Vendor Central first to decide if there's a category and one of their Vendor Central platform partners are able to make a pitch to be able to start doing private label. There's an entire process to getting into private label, but generally Amazon will look at their Vendor Central companies first, Vendor Central suppliers first, before putting it out for others, simply because they already have that existing relationship, so there's less that they have to worry about in regards to doing the private label with that company. And then there's also a variety of other programs that tend to pop up. Some are beta programs. They might not last very long, but they could give them advantage. Others are new programs that are being tested out that are going to be official, and they just need the vendors to come in and test it out. So Vendor Central has a lot of advantages in regards to doing B2B with Amazon, but it's very hard to get into because, like I said, invite only. It requires showing good amount of sales potential and also having an item that they're interested in. And the only other way I can think of that I can recommend to try and get that invitation is if you are able to catch Amazon at a trade show and meet with them. You might be able to persuade somebody there, pitch your products, and see if they might be willing to speak with their department to get you an invitation. But that's very rare, and that again requires you physically going to some trade show where you can catch Amazon to be able to make that pitch. eBay is another popular e-commerce website, features a regular online selling, but also differs from Amazon in that in eBay you're able to hold auctions for products. And eBay tends to have a much larger assortment of goods, including real estate, vehicles, and other goods that typically won't be found on Amazon. Now, Amazon has been closing that gap slowly, but eBay is still ahead in regard to its offerings, as well as different ways of making offerings, such as auctions. And sellers might find eBay's platform easier to create listings on and offer products on. The way that eBay has it set up is essentially they give you the bare minimum to list products, and then if you want to add more content, or if you want to add more information, maybe you want to add more images, it charges you a fee per that action. But you don't have to do any of those to sell. The bare minimum will still be enough to actually list and sell your products, and it's primarily B2C. I'm putting a couple links for eBay selling fees. They also do have selling fees. Put in a quick start guide, and then eBay also offers certain additional protection things that you can apply for to deal with potential losses due to customer returns or fraudulent customer returns. Those are an issue as well. Now, I'm going to touch on something unique here. Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace has been slowly growing. A lot of people might be familiar with it as individuals just selling various products, kind of like a Craigslist on Facebook. But Facebook has actually been expanding out their Facebook Marketplace for business. So businesses can actually set up a business account to sell products to whoever's shopping on Facebook for products. And there's a lot of people on Facebook that do shopping, not just individuals. You can find some businesses that have Facebook accounts. So definitely recommend looking into it. I put in links for that as well. And the advantage of Facebook also offers advertising on their digital marketing system. And because Facebook has a lot of information from users, as demographic information, it has geographic information, it even has shopping habits or shopping interests. You can make very well designed marketing campaigns on Facebook for a relatively decent budget. And Facebook Marketplace has been growing as an e-commerce website for shoppers. It is starting to gain more familiarity with people who want to purchase products. Facebook Marketplace has slowly become somewhere to shop. I know clients who, for example, have they're doing e-commerce, but they might be a furniture business. And on Facebook Marketplace, they have people reaching out to them, asking about products, asking if they can stop by if they're close enough, and making deals to sell products on Facebook Marketplace. So it is something that is catching on, and it has a lot of different categories. So it's definitely worth a look in regards to whether you want to sell on there or not. And like everywhere else, they do have selling fees for products sold through their marketplaces. So we're going to hop into Walmart. Walmart has made considerable strides establishing their e-commerce marketplaces. They don't charge a monthly fee for an account. The account is you fill out an application for Walmart Marketplace to become a seller. The approval process is pretty quick for most categories. It'll usually be within 24 hours to 48 hours, depending on how saturated that category is and how the products that you're selling. So that's something that comes up, but generally speaking, they're very straightforward, a bit easier than Amazon, in fact, to set up with and start selling with. They sell in numerous categories. You can think of Walmart as competition to Amazon. Now, that doesn't preclude you from selling on both. You can sell on both. That if you want to do that, you can do that, and you might even have advantages doing that because there's a lot of cross traffic going on where someone shopping on Amazon will go look at Walmart to see if they can get a better price, or someone on Walmart might go to Amazon to see if they can get a better price. So it's something to look at, but there's no upfront costs because you don't start paying anything until you start selling. So definitely look into Walmart as well if you are going to do Amazon, or even if you're not going to do Amazon, look into Walmart because Walmart has a lot of categories. Walmart's application process is quick, and there are no monthly fees to have an account. And like I said, they do have their fulfillment service set up as well, which is something they did this year. So Walmart Marketplace, here's an image of how it looks. I think they upgraded it a bit, but generally speaking, this is kind of the basic of how it appears. Very straightforward, it's less, not cluttered, but it has less features and tools than Amazon does in regards to reports, in regards to utilities. That's simply because Walmart's marketplace program is relatively new compared to Amazon, but they are making those investments. They're catching up. And at the end of the day, the main thing you really need is managing your inventory, managing your content, and managing orders. And that this platform covers all three perfectly fine. So you don't have to worry about any of that other stuff. It's very straightforward system. You create the products, you provide the content, you arrange the shipping when the order comes in, and you get charged a referral fee based on the category. Now, Walmart has a DSV, which is similar to Vendor Central in that it's a B2B with Walmart. For this one, you do have to fill out an application to become a Walmart supplier, and it will ask questions about whether you're going to do online or in the stores. But Walmart DSV, at least you can apply to, whereas with Amazon Vendor Central, you couldn't. So that's something to keep in mind. And the nice thing is that when you're applying for a marketplace, you can also apply for DSV at the same time. DSV application won't affect your marketplace business, whether it happens or it doesn't. Now, if it does happen, one thing that you will need to consider is when are you going to abandon your current marketplace account on Walmart? Because if you get a DSV account on Walmart and you already have a marketplace account, you're going to have to choose one or the other. And obvious choice is usually DSV. So Walmart Marketplace will kind of atrophy out for you, and you will put your full focus on Vendor Central. And Vendor Central's platform is very similar to the Marketplace one. Very straightforward, simple information, no weird tools and utilities to dig through, just all the basics that you would need to do business on Walmart. Here's a list of Walmart fees. As you can see, it seems average 15-12% depending on the category. And I put a link here to check that out. I also put in the link for their FAQ to help get an idea of getting started. If you have any questions or anything like that, the FAQ can help you. Otherwise, it's very straightforward to get set up there. And then a link to their fulfillment service. Now, the fulfillment service one, I recommend looking into it after you've created an account and after they approved it. Then you should check out their fulfillment services on Walmart. For Home Depot, we're going to touch on these a bit quickly because these are very specific categories, and these are all B2B or B2B hybrids. Home Depot, everyone knows it as home improvements, home decor, building materials, lawn and garden. At Home Depot, the product being sold on their website, it's through an application process to become a Home Depot supplier. And you do provide a cost list to Home Depot with product costs, as well as do drop shipping to their customers, because that's the main operation they do. They don't usually have separate. They don't. It's the wholesale and the drop shipping is kind of the core of Home Depot. They don't really have that bulk that the others do. It's something that takes a lot of effort to get into, and the only bulk that they'll do is if it's something they'll put in their stores. So don't think of it as a bulk situation. Think of it as I'm going to put my product on their shelves in their stores. And if they like the product and they think that there is an opportunity that it will sell in their stores, that's when they will start making those bulk orders, because they need to send it out to their stores. So drop shipping is the main way that Home Depot does its e-commerce operations with their suppliers. Houzz is a e-commerce site focused on home product and professional services. So they do have a section where they have people's service providers that are listed there. The services are home related, so plumbing, electrician, lawn care, things like that, interior design. Because Houzz is a housing interior and exterior house related information, hence the name. But the reason that I want to bring these guys up is because there's companies like this slowly popping up who are kind of hybrids. For example, in Houzz, you don't only have the option to list your products and services on their website. You can actually list your company on their website and have customers go back to your website where you offer your products and services. And alternatively, it also provides marketing tools, not just for whatever you have listed on their site, but your own website as well. So Houzz will do some marketing for you essentially if you sign up for their program. There is a cost involved in that, but it's unique because it's not just tied to you need to put your products on our website or your service on our website. They'll also offer the options to direct their traffic and their marketing efforts to your website as well. There is an application process similar to Home Depot and Marketplace and DSV. So that's something to keep in mind. You do need to fill out an application to go through a verification process. Now, Etsy is e-commerce, but it's a one that specializes in unique products that are vintage, custom, handmade, as well as craft supplies. It also works for gourmet products if you're going to sell food. Etsy customers are willing to pay slightly more as well as cover the shipping costs to receive high quality products, custom made products, handmade, vintage, anything like that. They are willing to pay to receive those. They're willing to pay the shipping. They're willing to pay the cost for it. So if you are selling anything like that, you can consider Etsy. Etsy has fees that are a little bit different, but essentially there's a listing fee, a transaction fee, and advertising fee. And it does have monthly subscriptions for your account, that different tiers you can get that have their own advantages, but you don't really need those. Etsy will give you everything you need to use on their platform. So they're the simplest, essentially, even simpler than I would say eBay. Very straightforward to set up your products to sell to their customers. So that's something to keep in mind if you are selling any kind of unique items, craft items, handmade, custom, anything like that. Consider putting them on Etsy to reach out to more customers. Wayfair is essentially home goods and furniture. They're a bit of a hybrid in that the way that they treat the platform is like a B2C regular marketplace relationship, but they're actually attending. They're basically. So I don't want to confuse people here, but you give a cost to Wayfair. They set an MSRP, but the catalog is self-managed. So like a marketplace, self-managing, but on the selling side, it's like a B2B relationship. Now the advantage here is because of that, when you are doing your Wayfair account, let's say you sell in that category, you will actually get a partner contact. You will get a buyer. You'll get their phone number and their email, and you can reach out to them to get support. Now they do have a ticketing system for small issues, but maybe a business strategy. Maybe you're looking to grow your business. Maybe you're bringing in new products, new categories. You will have a Wayfair buyer contact who you can actually speak to, who can give you decent business advice. With marketplaces, that's not something that's often available. You usually have to deal with their support teams or their ticket teams. So with Wayfair's hybrid system, you do actually get that contact. So that is a bit of an advantage, as well as you get that shipping advantage as well. So they'll usually cover shipping for certain categories of products. So all you have to do is list the content, maintain the content, and ship the goods. So that's very neat, but it specializes in home goods and furniture. If you're a category that Wayfair doesn't sell, your application won't go through because that's just not a category that they're doing business in. And Overstock is similar to Wayfair, but it has a bit more categories you can do, and their business logic is a bit different in that with Overstock, what happens is that they kind of focus on promos. So they want you to be able to offer discounts on the products you're selling on their website, but they have more categories. And the promotions they're not going to force you to do a promotion amount. You can offer a promotion amount to make sure that even after the promotion discounts and the deductions, you have a profit margin. So they focus on home decor and furniture, but they're not limited to it. You will actually find other categories that sell on there. And as long as you're able to provide some kind of discount or promo to attract customers, that's their business model. And they are an application process as well. And like Wayfair, you will get a partner contact once you are onboarded. So you will have a live person from Overstock who you can speak business with, essentially. Now we're going to leave marketplaces, we're going to leave supplier vendor. We're going to enter self-hosted, which is your own website. You are selling your own products. Now, in e-commerce, what you need to build an e-commerce capable website for that. And there are different ways of doing it. There are the hard ways, there are the easy ways. The easy ways are the most common that are used by most people, because the hard ways require a good amount of web development knowledge. So you need to know your HTML, you need to know your CSS, you might need to know your Java. There's a lot of programming language in there and coding languages you would need to know. Whereas with services like Shopify, you don't need to really worry about that. So what Shopify does is it gives you hosting service and an e-commerce website that you can build on their hosting, the Shopify hosting. They offer different tiers of service that have different monthly subscription costs. It usually depends on the features they provide, as well as the volume of sales and the revenue of sales that you will be having. So they do take a look at that as well. They give you free templates that you can use to start quickly. They give you a variety of vetted plugins you can use. Now, of course, this means that they don't have as many plugins as, say, a WordPress one, because the Shopify ones will be vetted by the Shopify team. So there'll be very specific plugins that were vetted by Shopify itself. They charge a monthly subscription fee. And there's also obviously payment transaction fees when people are paying with their cards, which is the common way for online. So they will list that there. They will show you how much the percentage and how much the fee is for payment transactions. And the reason they do this is because they're giving you all the tools you need for e-commerce packaged in a nice bundle. Because to do e-commerce, you need a website. The website needs to be hosted, and the website needs to be e-commerce capable. And those capabilities are checking out the cart system, and as well as payment transactions. People have to be able to make payments to you for the products. So that is another key thing that is required for an e-commerce website, and Shopify packages it all together in the bundle and offers it to you. So it's very good if you are starting off and you're kind of starting small. It only becomes a bit of a problem if you are starting to scale up, if you are starting to see a lot more business. It can get a bit more expensive than the alternatives. So that's something to keep in mind with Shopify. When you're reaching a point where you're going to scale up, it can get a bit expensive. So just keep that in mind. And keep an eye out on the terms on the plan that you get, because the revenue can affect the amount that they will be charging you. Because it does even say that if you pass a certain amount of revenue, there's an extra fee. So they kind of push you to the next tier. So definitely keep that in mind if you're going to do Shopify. But my experience with all the clients I've worked with, Shopify, if you're starting brand new, it's very easy. They hold your hand through the process. Basically, they give you everything you need, no hassle, nothing like that. So if you are going to be looking into that, look into Shopify. We are also going to go over different alternatives. So maybe you don't want to do Shopify. We have something called WooCommerce. WooCommerce is a plugin. Technically, it's like a e-commerce suite of tools to make a site into e-commerce. You need a WordPress website to use WooCommerce. And a WordPress website, you can either go through various types of hosts, that are available, because you will need a host to put the WordPress website on. So there's DigitalOcean, there's DigitalOcean, for example. WordPress itself has a hosting service. I think GoDaddy has hosting as well. There's a lot of sites out there, if you search, that have hosting services. They all have their own fees. What you want to look out for is a hosting service for a WordPress website, because then they will install the WordPress when you set up the hosting. And then once you have the WordPress set up, you integrate the WooCommerce suite, and the WooCommerce suite will give you the tools that convert your website, WordPress site, into a e-commerce site. Now, if you set up a WordPress and you didn't use a theme, you didn't build a website, you just set up a WordPress, WooCommerce actually has free templates for themes for the websites as well that you can use. So you don't have to build your website with WordPress first. You can actually just set up the WordPress, bring in the WooCommerce, and then use the WooCommerce templates to build your website. WordPress is very flexible, very customizable, but it can require some technical knowledge or technical troubleshooting. It's not as you can get you can break your site if you tinker too much in the technical end and you don't know what you're doing. But technically, you shouldn't be tinkering in that end as well, because WooCommerce will give you everything you need, and you can get all kinds of plugins. And because it's not like Shopify where it's vetted, you have access to a lot more plugins that might not have been vetted, but maybe they have a lot of functionality. So when you are looking at plugins in this situation, just check the reviews, check the information, make sure you're getting a plugin that seems to be decent, because everyone can put in their plugins to WordPress. WordPress has a simpler aspect to it in regards to vetting, because there's just so many options available. But on the other hand, you have so many options available that Shopify might not have. So you can do a lot to your website with plugins, and that way you avoid getting too technical as well, because the plugin will usually do most of the work. Unless you get a plugin that requires technical input, but you will know that ahead of time, because the plugin information will tell you how much you have to deal with. So it's built on a WordPress. So your main expense is your hosting, because you need to find a host to put it on. Now, some hosts will simplify it for you. They might offer an e-commerce plan, in which case they will set up the WooCommerce for you. They will set up the WordPress for you and give you, but you will be paying a little bit more than if you were just getting a WordPress site and hosting and connecting the WooCommerce yourself. So you can keep that in mind when you're looking at a host. If you go to a host website like DigitalOcean, for example, and you look at hosting, you might see WordPress hosting, and then you might see e-commerce hosting. And you can decide if you don't want to deal with too much technical stuff. You just want an e-commerce website ASAP. You want to give it to you on the platter. You don't want to get involved in setting up. Then you should look at the e-commerce plans. Just make sure that the e-commerce plan is WooCommerce. Some hosting sites use something else, or maybe they have their own internal system. So just keep an eye out for that. But WooCommerce is the popular one for WordPress. That isn't like Shopify. That isn't full package. It gives you more flexibility and customization. And something like BigCommerce as well is like Shopify and WooCommerce. Their plans are more like Shopify plans than WooCommerce plans, but essentially it works the same logic as WooCommerce, where it gives you a suite of tools that you set up on a site to have that e-commerce capabilities. So that is something else that you could take a look at. If you decide that the BigCommerce plans, the costs are more in line with you compared to Shopify or setting up your own hosting with WooCommerce. So, there's a lot of options available out there. These three are kind of the big ones that tend to get tossed around. But yeah, you can look and see what is available. But I generally recommend that, these three, simply because one of these three, or because they're the big ones that make up most of the ecosystem right now. This is what most people are using for their e-commerce websites. Now, we're going to exit e-commerce platforms and enter something a little different in the ecosystem. And this ties into supplier B2B. So there are a lot of retailers out there that, as I've mentioned, have been getting into e-commerce, or maybe they're just looking for new products, and maybe they do also e-commerce as well. They do have an online catalog as well. You can sometimes they will have a website where you're able to fill out an application, but more and more of them have been partnering with this company called RangeMe. They're a third-party soft service provider. And the only reason I bring them up is I usually don't bring up anything that's too optional, but RangeMe actually has partnered with some retailers that has made them mandatory and exclusive. So, for example, if you want to do business with Target, whether you want to sell to them directly as a supplier and maybe put it in their stores, or maybe you just want to give them products that they can sell online and then you'll just drop ship. Target doesn't let you go through them. So if you go to the Target website, search how to become a supplier, it'll give you a page. But when you click on the link to go to the page for the actual, setting up to be a supplier, it will tell you that you need to go through RangeMe because they've exclusively partnered with them. So it's something to keep in mind. There's a lot of retailers there. There tend to be a bit more on the convenience side, grocery side, but stuff like Target is there as well. So there's a lot of options, and I put a link there where you can take a look at it. You're able to create a free account on RangeMe just to navigate the platform, get an idea of how it's set up. But it's essentially like a like an online portfolio, an online catalog. You put your products there, you put the pictures there, you describe them, you put the materials, you're putting in the costs and your MSRP, your ideal cost and MSRP. And then buyers from retailers are able to see this information. And if you become a paid subscriber, you can send your catalog to the buyers to push it in front of them and say, hey, I sell these products. I want you to take a look at it and see if we can do business. The free one doesn't have that option. You can't push your catalog to anybody. There will usually be like a featured seller who you can push it to, but that happens on a limited basis. Normally speaking, unless the supplier is specifically looking for you, with a free account, you can't push it to them. With a paid account, you can push your products to them. So keep in mind, if there are any retailers on that list that you think you want to do e-commerce supplier relationship with over time, you would use RangeMe to ideally get in touch with a lot more companies, because the other way is usually a more traditional way where essentially, you network, you cold call, you email, maybe someone refers you, maybe you meet them at a trade show. You could do something like that, but RangeMe, it serves to simplify that process for the supplier as well, whose buyers will just sit down there and look through offerings on RangeMe. So it's something to keep in mind if you are planning to do that supplier level relationship. And if you are looking for e-commerce, but it's not exclusively e-commerce, but there are a lot of retailers on there that do e-commerce as well. If you are looking to do e-commerce with them on a B2B supplier relationship. And then we touch upon the niche and international. Now, there's a lot of, like I said in the beginning of the presentation, e-commerce is evolving. There's always retailers that are becoming e-commerce capable. There are marketplaces forming for specific types of categories, specific geographic regions, things like that. So you'll always want to keep an eye out and see if anything new is popping up for your category. But here are some different online marketplaces that have covered different specific categories. So Newegg is electronics, computers focused. Zulily is clothing and home products focused, but they also have a different business model where instead of constantly selling on like catalog that's available, what they do is that they run campaigns. So they'll have a spring sale, for example, let's say, and weeks ahead of that spring sale, they'll get together, they'll contact anyone selling products that they want to showcase in the spring sale. So if the spring sale is about apparel, they reach out to apparel suppliers that are working with Zulily, and they say, the spring sale for apparel is coming up. Submit your products and discounts that you want to give for them. And then Zulily will review it and then list it on the campaign once the spring sale starts. And once the spring sale ends, it closes out essentially. So it has a different business model. Tractor Supply Company is home improvement, but mainly also agriculture based on name. They are doing e-commerce as well, and suppliers can get with them to provide drop shipping to their customers, or discuss if there's an opportunity to provide products in bulk to their stores or their warehouses. Kroger is produce and groceries and food stuff. And then you have Chewy, which is pet food, pet supplies. Niches are great because it concentrates their traffic onto the products that people are selling in that category. So it's the customers that you get there are definitely in the market for whatever product you have in that category. You're not worrying about them shopping there and then maybe getting distracted by something else. They are there for the products that are on that site. So those niches are helpful. And then for the international ones, I'm only touching on them because, for example, with Alibaba, you can't actually sell as a US supplier. They don't have that open yet. But I wanted to bring it up because they have things like AliExpress, Alibaba. These are e-commerce sites internationally. They do business internationally. There's probably more that I haven't listed in different parts of the world because the startup scene for an e-commerce marketplace is inspired by sites like Amazon and Alibaba. So different countries, startups are pushing to develop marketplaces in their geographic region and also find suppliers maybe in other countries if they can't find in their own. So it's something that you can research. just search up a country maybe or a region, and write e-commerce marketplace, and see what comes up. And if they do allow US sellers, if you are a US seller and you are manufacturing in the US and they allow a US seller to list there, congratulations, you now have another marketplace you can sell on. So you can definitely do that research, because these sites are the ones pulling in the traffic to them and giving you the advantage to sell to their traffic if you are able to onboard with them. And last but not least is product research. And the reason I want to touch on this is if you are a seller who has not really concentrated down on a product, or maybe you are a seller looking into getting new products, there's a couple of different options out there that you can use. These aren't the exhaustive list. These are just some common ones. So one thing is called ThomasNet. This is especially if you're looking for made in the US, because ThomasNet looks at manufacturers and suppliers and distributors in the United States. So if you go on ThomasNet, create an account, you can search for different categories of products and find the suppliers or the manufacturers in them, and then try to contact them if you want to set up a relationship where they will provide you products. This also applies for traditional businesses, because ThomasNet is like a database. So it's not specific to e-commerce. It's not specific to traditional businesses. It's just a database of American suppliers, and helps people find suppliers to source products from. And they also provide industry reports if you want to do some research in the industry. So that's one. Second one, Alibaba is a popular marketplace to find manufacturers for a wide assortment of products. If you've ever looked at the Alibaba website, you've probably seen they just have everything. Obviously, the manufacturers are predominantly Chinese, but I have seen manufacturers from other countries in Asia and the Middle East and Africa. I have seen them on there. They're not as prominent, but they are definitely there. So you can definitely filter and try to find. And then we get into research aspects. Jungle Scouts, if you've been involved in e-commerce product research, you may have heard of them, but they are software focused on selling on Amazon. They help people, they help sellers identify products and trends and competition on Amazon based on keywords and categories. So they help you determine if there's a gap or an opening in a certain type of product or based on the keyword. They'll give you an idea of who your competition might be. And they also do provide a supplier database as well, but that's not their main focus. Their main focus is helping you as a seller on Amazon determine what you're selling and who you're going to be going up against, and whether what you're selling might be a niche as on marketplace. It helps you determine those, but it is a paid software service that offers that. And then we have Facebook Insights. You do need a Facebook account, but what it does is that it provides you data about Facebook users' interests by keyword and location. It's similar to Google Trends that I'm going to be touching upon, but it's very helpful to understand, especially if you plan on doing Facebook Marketplace for business. It'll let you access Facebook data for Facebook users to determine what kind of trends there are, what kind of interests there are. Is there something that's really huge interest and no amount of products? So it gives you a lot of filters you can use to kind of look through Facebook users and determine trends, determine interests, determine what kind of activity you can expect. And then we get into Google Trends, which applies to a larger group of people, but it's similar logic in that it provides you the popularity of top searches and keywords, provides data on graphs of search volume and over different periods of time. So Google Trends is useful for one, by the name trends, and two is what are common or popular keywords that get searched in specific geographic regions, whether it's the nation, a state, a municipality, or a couple of zip codes if you're doing US, but it works internationally as well. It'll let you get an idea of what people are looking for online. Now, keep in mind that this is based off of Google searches. So there is the consideration that there's a lot of e-commerce shoppers who don't go on Google and search because they know that they can just go to Amazon or Walmart directly. So those people might be left out of the equation, but generally speaking, because there's just so much traffic on Google, on the internet using Google, it'll be relatively accurate in regards to which way trends are moving or which interests there are, or whether you've identified a niche product that you think can take off. So that helps. So these are some ideas. These aren't, this is, like I said, not an exhaustive list. There's a lot of services out there, and more continue to come in. So do your research, but when it comes to product research for getting started, you definitely want to make sure you know what you're going to get started with and which marketplaces you plan to get into it with, ahead of time, just for the convenience of knowing the rules and the terms and the fees and expenses. Building out your strategy helps you build out your strategy. Well, that ends most of the talking, but we're going to jump into the questions now because I see there's a few questions. I'm going to go ahead and look at the Q&A first, and then I'll jump into the chat. So we'll start here. So if you're interested in drop shipping, you could start with Shopify. I'm assuming by drop shipping you mean finding the product, selling somewhere, and then selling it on either your website or selling it on like an Amazon website. You could do that with Shopify. You would essentially just be setting up so that people come in and purchase from your website. The only thing to keep in mind is that if you set up with Shopify, you do need to build your website traffic, which is a marketing investment. So it could be there could be an upfront cost with no guarantee that you might be able to make sale, because you still need that traffic to come in, and if you can't get that traffic, you won't be able to drop ship anyway because you're not able to sell to anybody. So yes, you can start with Shopify, and to start with Shopify, you just go to their website and create the account and pick the plan and you get started there. But if you're going to be drop shipping, you need customers, and customers you won't have on a fresh new website, which means investing in that marketing and that advertising. So it won't be a very short-term thing. It could be a medium-term situation, assuming you're able to get the website traffic that can actually shop and buy these products. To become an Amazon seller, the professional plan is $39.99. That is the main fee that you will be paying before you even start selling. Once you start selling, you will be paying referral fees. And as you continue growing your business, you will also be paying into marketing and budgeting for marketing and advertising. But the main cost that will always be there is that $39.99 monthly fee to maintain your status as a professional seller. If you want to find items to drop ship, those product research aspects I gave can help. Jungle Scout, for example, helps show you what products are with keywords, what the competition is, so you can get an idea of what's selling. There is also another website for finding highly reviewed products. I believe it's called findthisbest.com. So there's services like that, but essentially what you'll be doing is product research on Walmart and Amazon, Facebook. Most direct way is literally your search terms. So when search for products, use very specific keywords based on what you're looking to drop ship, and then use that to identify what's there and what you might be working with. And it's the freest way, where you just use the search system to see what pops up in the search results for Amazon or Walmart or Home Depot, or Facebook. It's very straightforward. It won't be the most detailed research, but it is the simplest in regards to giving you an idea of where you might want to start with a product. But if you were thinking more in the lines of what's popular and how can I, how do I identify that, then you will need to use these research tools like Jungle Scout to get an idea of the rankings of the products, to decide what's popular and what you would want to start with. Okay, so for the cost of starting an e-commerce business, there is no one answer, because an e-commerce business is a regular business that just does e-commerce. So technically speaking, your cost for starting is going to be whatever it costs incorporate your business with the state. So an LLC is, if I'm not mistaken, $125 filing fee. So we can say that that's your first cost. That's what it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you $125 to start the actual business entity. And then the other costs depend on whether you're setting up on Amazon, which has a monthly fee, or if you're setting up on Walmart, where you have to pay anything until the item sells, and they just deduct it from the amount they're going to pay you, so you don't actually pay them. And whether you're going to be paying money into marketing and advertising, those are costs. If you do Shopify, Shopify has a monthly plan, so that is another cost to consider. But if you're not going to do Shopify, if you're just going to do marketplace, then whatever marketplace you're using is what's going to affect that. When you apply for an account, depends on the marketplace. Honestly, I found that Walmart was usually about 24 to 48 hours. Depends on the category, but like I said, they were very fast. Some will take longer, some will have more questions, some will ask for more information. Depends on the marketplace and the category, and if they feel like they have enough sellers, or if they don't have enough sellers, they might get back faster than normal. But there is a process there, and unfortunately they don't give estimates, so you might actually have to wait for some of them. So definitely don't just sit and wait on one account. I recommend going to other marketplaces and retailers and doing the process there too, so at least you might be able to start somewhere while you're waiting on whatever main one you apply to. Amazon has a support team as well as guides, so they can provide technical support depending on what issue you have. Their support team is relatively decent. You just have to be very specific with them with what kind of challenges you're facing and what you're trying to do. But they can provide technical support and help you in regards to that. Their support team, they do have a case support team that can help with any kind of question like that. And they also do have a forum as well, a seller forum. If you want something faster, or maybe you want to see if others are having the same issue, you can post in the seller forum as well. Do you need to be in all e-commerce platform? No, you do not need to be in all e-commerce platforms to be successful as a beginner. You can start with one, and you can go from there. You don't need to be a specific exclusive type of platform. You could be having your own website where you sell from, and then you're also working as a supplier, or you have a marketplace and you're also working as a supplier, or you just have one of each, and maybe you're working on one marketplace. If it's making sales and you're not seeing, and you feel like you don't want to spread out your energy, you're getting sales, you think if you focus on this marketplace you'll be able to make money, you can do that and you will make revenue. So you don't have to be on all the platforms. You don't need to be all type of platform. You can start with one and see how it goes. And if it's going slow, you can test out another one. And if that one goes better, then you can, the first one that you started with, you might just pause that one or set the inventory to 0 and focus your efforts on the one that's actually making good amount of sales. And you can actually start making business that way. You don't have to be everywhere. You can scale up according to your capabilities and your revenue. You don't need to jump ahead of the gun to be successful, because you can be successful with a single marketplace as long as it is the right marketplace and you are selling the right product and you are managing it with good amount of focus. Difference between Etsy and Shopify is Etsy is the marketplace. So Etsy is the company that hosts their marketplace. So they bring in shoppers, and you as a seller, when you go on Etsy, you as a seller list your products on their marketplace. Shopify isn't a marketplace. Shopify is a utility. Shopify just lets you build an e-commerce capable website in the easiest way possible. So you're selling on your own website. Shopify just giving you the tools to do it. So that's a distinction there. Etsy is market. Shopify is a tool to build your own e-commerce website. Technically, yes, with Shopify, you would need to have a following of customers. That helps. If you don't have that, you will need to build that, because essentially, if you build a website, who are you going to sell it to if no one's visiting? You need people to come in, and generally speaking, if full digital is marketing. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do advertising. Maybe if you want to focus locally, maybe you can do some traditional business and use word of mouth, use social media posts, go out there, attend maybe events, stuff like that. Maybe hand out free samples if it's that type of product, but try to build up recognition. You can do that outside of e-commerce in like the regular ways to get the traffic in. But if you are just going to be focusing on bringing traffic in digitally, then advertising and marketing is the key way of doing that. There's no other way that does it as best as marketing does. So let's jump into the chat here. Let me see where it starts. Recording. Oh, okay. All right. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I see another question here. Okay, yes, that's a good question. If you were to sell on Amazon, items on Amazon, and are you handling shipping, and what are the best shipping options? Yes, shipping is a huge concern right now. The rates keep going up. It's costing people a lot of money. Well, I would say the best options are try not to use your own account for shipping unless you're able to get a good rate. There's services like ShipStation, but they cost money. Realistically, the best way I would say is if you can find a mailing company or a shipping company that provide, not like a shipping company like a carrier, but like a shipping company like those stores that offer you walk in with a package and they'll prepare it for you with whatever carrier you choose. They'll do the mailing service, stuff like that. If you are able to find somebody like that and see if they can share their rate code, or if they're willing to work with you long term to let you use their rates in some way to do the shipping, that will be the best option, because pretty much the only way to get ahead of shipping costs is finding the lowest rate possible, and the lowest rates go to companies that have huge volumes. So the mailing provider might have a decent discount, but not a massive one. Or you could use Amazon's shipping platform. Now that one gives a decent amount of the cost, but their rate is not the best. Or you use a service like ShipStation. Now, ShipStation is not the only service, but there's a lot of services out there. They're just the most prominent one. You can use a service like that, but that incurs additional expenses. So yeah, shipping is a bit of a headache. It requires looking around to see what you can use. But I would say what I've seen is, if locally you can find a mailing company, mailing and shipping company whose rates are good, you might be able to see if you can work out a deal with them to help reduce your shipping costs when you have to send something for an Amazon customer. For Google Workspace, so I think you can get a domain there. On the website, but you're driving all your traffic to Etsy. I would say that what you have set up is fine. Etsy or your Facebook page, because at the end of the day, what really matters is where you're selling it. Are people going there where you're selling it, and are they able to buy from where you're selling it? So if obviously you're able to sell from Etsy, and if you have a Facebook business page and maybe you decide to set up the Facebook marketplace for business or something like that, and customers are able to visit that and speak with you and make orders, that is a good way to sell online, because you are selling. So if you can make that arrangement to actually start selling that way, and you're getting the traffic there and you're pitching it to them, that works fine. There is no one right way of selling. There's a lot of different options out there that you can use, mix and match, but the main key is getting the traffic somehow that you can sell to, and making sure that they're able to actually make a purchase or buy from wherever it's listed on. So that's the main consideration. Okay, any other questions?
Okay, so I don't think we have any more questions. It is 4:31, so I'm just going to go ahead and start wrapping up this webinar. Thank you so much, Ahmet, for that informative presentation and for your time today. And for those of you here that are in Essex County and you would like to set up a no-cost one-on-one business appointment with Ahmet, you can either request business counseling on our website, www.rnsbdc.com, or you can feel free to raise your hand at this moment and I will take note of your name to set up that appointment. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen with our contact information. So if you have any more questions or you're looking to set up that appointment, you can feel free to give us a call, send us an email, or there's our website link right there to request that one-on-one consultation. Again, we do offer a no-cost post-webinar appointment for those that are within Essex County. So if you're not in Essex County and you're still seeking the same assistance, you can visit njsbdc.com and reach out to your local SBDC office. Okay, so at this time, I would like to direct everyone to the chat. There, I will be pasting some of our upcoming webinars, as well as the link to request business counseling there. Okay, we have a name. Let me just take note of the name. Okay, so the first two links on that chat that I just posted are the continued parts of this webinar series. So today you attended the e-commerce planning part 1, the basics, but if you're looking to delve deeper into the e-commerce process, you can register for part 2 and part 3 using the links there in the chat. And the next webinar, part 2, e-commerce part 2, intermediate, will be held on August 27th at 12 p.m. So if you're interested in delving a little bit deeper into the e-commerce process, again, feel free to register for that. So part 2 is the first link there, and part 3 is the second there. Okay, and the webinars listed here are available on our website, www.rnsbdc.com. And this year we are hosting many other webinars and topics such as financing, access to capital, COVID disaster loans, marketing and branding, more e-commerce webinars, credit counseling, startup assistance, state certifications, government contracting, business planning, human resourcing, and so much more. So feel free to register and sign up for these webinars and workshops via our website or the training tab that I just posted there in the chat, direct links to all of our training webinars and workshops. And you will find a webinar or a workshop that best fits your business needs. In terms of COVID disaster loans or grants, if you're in need of disaster relief, including the SBA EIDL loan, we have counselors that can help you with the application process. All you have to do, again, is request counseling on our website, and we will be more than happy to help you out with that. I do want to remind you all that you will be receiving the video replay as well as the presentation slides within 48 to 72 hours. So you can have all this information and apply the strategies and techniques to help your business. After the webinar has ended in the browser, you will see a survey pop up. Now that survey will help us to adjust our presentations in the future, as well as give us some information on the type of assistance you may be needing for your business. So if you have some time to complete that, your feedback is much appreciated. And with that, we will now end today's webinar. I want to say thank you to Ahmet for sharing your expertise with us. And thank you to all of our attendees for taking the time out to attend and ask your question in today's webinar. And we look forward to seeing you all at our future webinars and workshops. Have a great day, everyone.